This is episode 76, The Science of Stuck and What to Do About It. Welcome to Alive by Design. My name is Blake Mallon, and we're here to bring you inspiring people, principles, and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. Open your mind and let's dive in. Hey guys, before you listen to the podcast, I just want to drop in and say I appreciate you for being here, and I'm super excited about this new Walk With Me series. These are solo episodes where I take some time in the middle of my morning run through the Santa Monica Mountains to share some inspired ideas and thoughts on my mind and heart. If you want to join me for any of these conversations live, you can catch me many mornings on my Facebook page, facebook.com/BlakeMallon.page. Would love to see you there. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode. Walk with me. Have you ever felt just stuck? Like straight stuck? I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. Stuck in maybe a thought or something that was going on in your mind you just couldn't get out of. Stuck in maybe a situation that you're in, or maybe just stuck in a certain kind of season of life. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. The feeling of just like stuckness. I know you've been there. We've all been there. If there's one common thing I've learned from, 20 years now of working with entrepreneurs all over the world, is everybody goes through some seasons in their life where they just feel stuck. It's like the worst feeling, huh? There is a worse feeling, though. You know what's worse than the feeling of stuck? Is knowing you have a feeling of stuck and not knowing what to do to get out of it. That's worse than the feeling of stuck. And I want to talk about that with all of you today. This concept of stuck and understanding maybe how we get there, why we get there, going through what I call the stuck cycle, and more importantly, how we make the shift to get unstuck. A little breezy today. Sorry if the wind's in the earbuds, but hey, beautiful day. Southern California, almost to the top. Let's unpack this a little bit. I definitely want to give you a positive solution, something simple you can apply when you're in these seasons. But I think a quick step back and high level just education on understanding maybe why we get in these stuck situations is important. And I'm going to give a quick brain dump on a lot of study I've done. Hey, beautiful day. Woo! See the Santa Monica Pier way down there? Sun is shining today. Malibu, Santa Monica Mountains. It's my favorite rock on the top. Hope you guys don't mind if I sit with y'all for a second, because that is a big mountain. I'm wearing a weighted vest. And I gotta catch my breath. So guys, I'm gonna pull real quickly some short segments. I'm gonna do my best to summarize in quick form what are generally complex understandings that I've spent a lot of time learning. But give you the high-level summary because I think it's gonna provide the context around understanding kind of what I call the stuck cycle, or why we get into these loops where we feel like we can't get out or we can't move forward. And at a high level, I'm going to go biology on you real quick and kind of talk about the science of getting stuck in short form. But at a high level, it starts with understanding who we are. And not just we as individuals, but like we as human beings, as like a species. In other words, how we are wired, how we were created, how this machine, right, that works phenomenally every single day, we call our body, manages to function, and how some of the stuff that we do we're aware, but a lot of the stuff that we do every single day happens without even a consciousness or a conscious awareness. But at the core of the way we are designed and built, at the core, what do you think the most important thing, the most important role, the most important job, the number one priority of our body is? If you said survival, you got it right. You guys, at the core, at the fundamental level, right, the foundation or the bedrock of everything is our body is built to survive. Because if it doesn't do that, nothing else matters. That is the number one priority and responsibility of the way we were designed, of the systems within us. Survival at our core is the number one priority. Everything else is above that. And understanding that, you're going to understand that the way we are built and the way that our systems work, it is designed with that priority in mind, designed to help us survive first and foremost. And with that in mind comes kind of a second overarching understanding that our body is always, because we are driven to survive, is always going to seek familiarity, okay? The known, right? What we are familiar with, what we're have seen or done or been or had before. And it's always going to seek and prioritize that over the unknown, right? Or something new. And for no other reason other than the familiar is known. It is a known journey, right? It's kind of like, hey, if you really, really needed to get to a destination, right? And there's one way that you've gone, right? One time before, 3 times before, 10 times before, 100 times before, and you wanted certainty to get to that destination, you're probably going to take the path that you've been what? Before, right? Even if someone might come in and say, wait, there's a whole different route. This way is going to cut time, right? It's, less obstacles. It's going to get you there faster. If you needed, without a shadow of a doubt, to know you had to get to the destination, the certain route is the one that you've been what? Before. You guys, that's the way that our body operates every single day on a lot of levels. Right? 3 quick thoughts or quick examples. And again, I'm going to go science on you. I'm going to go nerd on you for a second, but I think it's important to understand this stuck cycle, right? First and foremost, at a kind of physical, right, or physiological, is that the word? level, right? When it comes to our biology, our body, right, is always going to seek the familiar. At a chemical level, have you ever heard the term or been familiar with the term that we all kind of have a home state, right? A home state of feeling or of emotion. It's true. We all kind of have a home state of how we feel. And that's because our body gets used to, right, the chemical level, right, of what's going on in our body in a certain situation. Have you ever seen somebody that has just been anxious for so long that their home state is anxious? In other words, no matter what's going on, even in vacation, sitting down on the sand with an umbrella in their drink and not a care in the world, somehow their body seems to gravitate or find something to be anxious over, right? Or someone that has been through periods of stress for a long period of time, right, will naturally gravitate to find something to be stressed over. And that goes with all states of emotion. You start talking about kind of mental health, you slip into people that have been in, maybe a sad or depressed state for a long period of time. It's almost like their body naturally slides into that state of sad or depressed. You guys see, we all have naturally a home state that our body has gotten used to. And you need to understand that home state, even if it's the state consciously we don't want to be in, and this is where it gets kind of messed up, right? Because it can be a state that we don't even want. It can be a state that we want to get out of. It can be a state that we know isn't good for us. If it's something that our body has become familiar with, our body is going to crave that state at a chemical level. At a chemical level. You guys, every one of those emotions that I mentioned, right? You talk about stress or anxiety. It's a certain combination of chemicals that get released in our body. You got levels of cortisol, right? You got levels of adrenaline. You got certain things that happen in those states, right? Chemically. And do you realize that if you're in that state over and over and over again, number one, your body becomes familiar. But number two, in some of those chemicals, in the cases of like cortisol and adrenaline, your body actually enjoys, right, the rush of those chemicals in your body. And you get to a point where some of those states actually become a physical addiction. Yeah, I just said that. Isn't that crazy? By the same definition, we can become addicted by external, right, chemicals in the sake of drugs or medications, right, or certain behaviors. We can become addicted to the internal chemicals that our body is used to producing over and over and over again because of consistent states. Kind of crazy if you think about it, that we actually become addicted to certain physical states, even if and when they're not states we want to be in and stay in, because they are familiar and known, and our body is seeking the known. And in many cases, those chemicals our body physically enjoys, even though maybe mentally or emotionally we don't. Ouch. Right? So we get stuck physically. Same thing happens up here when it comes to our neuro pathways. So if we go to the brain, same concept, right? So there's a bunch of neuro pathways in our body. Some of you guys might remember way back in school, the old saying, the neurons that fire together, wire together, right? What that means is literally as you have different synapses firing, different thought patterns going on, it creates little pathways. And the more you have similar thoughts, the more those pathways fire and wire together, and it becomes a familiar network. And so we tend to, even at a neurological level, right, we tend to go out there and repeat a lot of the same things, again, because of this overarching understanding that that's known, that that's familiar. And it becomes an actual physical, right, neuropathway in our brain. So it works in our body, it works in our brain. We seek this familiar. It also works with what we perceive every single day. Our perception. When I say perception, what do I mean, right? What am I talking about? You guys know, right? The things that make up our perception. You'd probably think about the senses, right? The things that we see or hear, right? Or smell or taste or touch. And yeah, our perception is a combination of all of those things. But let me adjust that understanding a little bit. Our perception is actually a projection, right, of all of those things. And let me go one layer deeper. Our perception is actually a projection, but only made up of a small percentage of what all of those things really are. Here's what I mean, to be specific. We are not designed in order to actually perceive or take in all of the things that are really around us. Matter of fact, science says that there's roughly 2 million bits or pieces of information at any given point that we could actually take in with our senses, right? So as I'm sitting here on a rock on the top of a hill, right, all around, and as you are where you're at, both of us right now, if we were actually able to take in everything happening around us, no matter where we are and what's going on, is about 2 million bits of information. But if we were to try to take all those in at one time, we would be like freaked out, right? We would be wired. We would be overloaded. Our senses are not built in order to handle that much input. Take a guess of how much input science says we are capable of taking in. If there's 2 million options out there, how much actually makes up our projection? You guys, studies show, science says roughly 134, give or take. So out of 2 million pieces of information, only 134 out of 2 million are actually what we take in through our senses, and that makes a projection that we call a perception. We think perception is reality. No, reality is 2 million. Our perception is 134. Our perception is our reality, but it's not the reality. So the point of understanding that is the realization that, wow, we're missing most things, right? We only take in a small fraction of what's out there, and we ignore, delete, distort, minimize, reduce most of what is there. You guys catching me? You following me? Am I too sciencey? You guys get this? Because here's the next step of the questioning. Well, if we're only taking in 134 out of 2 million, that means we're missing most things. So it begs the question, well, what the heck are we taking in? And you guys, here's where it goes back to that familiarity concept. We take in the 134 bits that harmonize most with our existing beliefs. And you guys, this is literally, we have a part in our brain called the RAS, R-A-S, Reticular Activating System. It's like your brain's spam filter, okay? The RAS's job is to go out there and delete and distort the 2 million down to 134. Well, it's going to work by the same way we've been talking about. It's going to go find the 134 things that align most with your existing belief system, that back your existing thoughts. In other words, right, we are going to seek what we will find, right? We are going to find things that reinforce what we already think we know and think we believe. So guys, those thoughts at a high level, right? Some of you guys are saying, Blake, I thought you were talking about getting stuck. How does this have to do with getting stuck? Well, let me connect the dots. Our body is built to seek familiar. Our body is built, right, to continue to go down a path that's already been. Physically, mentally,
And even our projection of what we are seeing as reality is reinforced by our existing, right, beliefs and our existing experiences. Well, now enters the whole conversation of why I talk about a script. Right? Some of you guys have watched the TED Talk. You know I'm passionate about this concept. And when I talk about the script, normally I'm talking about kind of the universal global script or prescription we've all seemed to be given for how to live, because it's just fascinating to me that everywhere I go in the world, and I haven't been everywhere, but I've been a lot of places, I find that everybody has been taught some variation of this prescription. And you guys know how it goes, the prescription for how to live, right? At age 5, we go to school, we got to study hard, we got to get good grades, we got to go to college, we got to study hard, we got to get good grades, we got to get a job, we got to work hard, we got to make money, right? Eventually we climb and strive the corporate ladder, we got to find the right person, we got to fall in love, we get married, we have kids, we buy the house, we work hard, right? And eventually we save enough money that we can retire and be happy. Or some slightly edited variation of that, a global script. But even beyond this global script of how to live, we have scripts every day that we follow, right? We're given scripts or prescriptions for how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to be a friend, right? All the way down to the majority of actions we take every day, there is some sort of script, societal script, that has taught us what we're supposed to do in that situation, who we're supposed to be in that situation. This supposed to life, this list of expectations. And why is this such an issue? Because if we understand how our body is designed, and now we realize that everything around us is constantly teaching us these scripts to follow, that means the majority of our life we have been pre-wired physically, pre-wired, right, neurologically, pre-wired when it comes to our perception and our projection to constantly run those routines. And not just us, but everyone around us. And to go one layer deeper, you think about all the people in our lives that have been taught the same thing, therefore reinforce the same thing, constantly giving the same script, rewiring ourselves over and over again. You think about all of the propaganda in the world that knows how to maximize this, especially now more than ever. So much propaganda, people using the knowledge of how we're stuck in these routines to get their own motives or agendas across, even down to public institutions, right, that are designed in order to perpetuate, right, these prescriptions or these scripts. The stuck cycle. The stuck cycle. You got the people around us, you got the propaganda around us, you got institutions around us, reinforcing the same thing that is literally wiring our body, our brain, our perception to continue to seek familiar over and over and over again. Stuck. So guys, didn't mean to go too bio on you, but hopefully you understand those concepts at a high level. And to give yourself a little bit of grace, if you start to feel stuck, right, there's a big reason. There's a physical reason, right, that sometimes we get stuck in those situations, right? And I think understanding all of that allows you to maybe detach it from you, and it's not a problem you're going through. There's nothing wrong, right, with you. It's that, wow, we have been put in a situation in the world times our anatomy that makes it really easy to get stuck. Which obviously begs the question, okay, I understand that. Well, how in the world did I get unstuck? Like, get to that part, right? Get to that part. Well, you guys, I think what I just went through is the beginning of that, right? So I think everything starts to change with awareness. So in order to become unstuck, you have to first become aware of what the situation is and how you got there. So you can detach yourself, right, from you, right, and realize that, hey, this is just the circumstance. This is what's happening at a societal or biological level. So everything starts with awareness. You need to acknowledge there is a script or a lot of scripts. You need to acknowledge that you are stuck because of how that our body works. And that's not a bad thing, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It starts with an awareness or an acknowledgement. Once you have awareness, now you can start to realize what's happening. You can start to disassociate yourself from the situation and start to kind of become an observer of yourself, saying, wow, okay, I understand exactly what's happening here. So you can kind of move on to the next step, which is kind of stop. Once you are aware, you can stop the pattern when you get in those situations. No, I know exactly what's happening, right? Body, I know exactly what's happening. Brain, I know exactly what's happening. Perception, right? Stop. And you're able to stop the patterns once you're able to acknowledge and be aware. Ultimately, we have to start getting new input, right? The only way to make the shift is to start getting new input. We've had a lifetime of maybe the wrong input. Wrong as in maybe not serving you to your maximum level. Wrong as in maybe not what's going to give you your full potential, right? Wrong as in maybe input that's limiting who you are and what you do and what you can be. Right? We got to shift the input consciously. Once we're aware, once we stop the pattern, we can start to seek new input. Because this is why I think community is so important. Surround yourself with a community, your tribe, your crew, your peer group, an environment that is going to give you a new input, right? Give you new people to model after, people that you want to, right, learn from, people that are in situations that you want to be, people that have made a shift in certain aspects of their life that you can emulate. Because that all comes with community, people that are going to challenge you to elevate and raise your standards. Shifting your peer group, shifting your community changes your input. I think it starts with community, but you also have the ability now in today's digital age to have a virtual community even outside your physical community. Conversations like this, right? People all around the world getting input, right? That's going to challenge you to think differently and therefore be different. Whether it be your audiobooks or your podcasts, right? Or your personal growth or your events or your videos or your TED Talks, right? Shifting that input allows you to start to rewire what's going on up here, rewire what's going on right here. Once you start getting new input, you can start making small shifts. And notice, guys, I said small shifts. It doesn't have to be a life-changing, dynamic, lightning bolt moment, right, in an instant. It can start with small shifts done every day. Small shifts, saying, I'm going to stop thinking like this, and I'm going to start thinking like this. I'm going to stop doing this that I know is a detriment to me and start doing this, which I know is empowering, right? Small little shifts you can do every single day for whatever aspect you're trying to improve, your health, your relationships, your career, your business, your finances. You guys, small shifts over time start to build a personal momentum. Small shifts every day, right, start to build an inertia. Small shifts build the muscle to lead to bigger shifts, because small shifts start to rewire what's going on here, rewire what's going on here, rewire the filter, where now we start to see a different 134 bits that were happening before. All that happens with small shifts compounded over time. And you guys, small shifts compounded over time lead to big shifts. So guys, that's the conversation I wanted to have with all of you today, because I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like they're stuck in certain situations. And sometimes we give ourselves more guilt than we need to be. Or we feel like something's wrong, which just makes the cycle worse, when you got to stop for a minute and realize, no, right? You were built a certain way and we are in a certain environment that makes it very easy to slide into stuck. But the good news is there is a way out, right? The good news is there is a way to get unstuck. The good news is, right, you have that decision and you're already doing that first step right now with this conversation, increasing your awareness so that way you can recognize it and stop it. You can start to find a different community and a different model and different input to help you make small shifts over time. And small shifts compounded over time lead to big shifts. And eventually you find yourself in a whole new area with a whole new wiring and a whole new physiology and a whole new perception that ultimately, guys, those things lead to a whole new experience of what we call life. It's possible. People are doing it. You're doing it, and you can do it. So, guys, that's the conversation I wanted to have today. What I love about a blessing in disguise of this whole pandemic mess is that it has really shined a light on the scripts that are broken, stopped our routines in our tracks, shattered the glass, and is forcing us maybe to reevaluate things that we were running that weren't even allowing us to be all that we can be, and now start to consciously choose, right, and make that shift. And I think it's a great amazing time and a blessing in disguise of what we're going through to maybe accelerate this conversation, accelerate a shift that maybe you should have made a long time ago. And hopefully these conversations inspire you a little bit just to start taking those positive steps in that right direction. So with that, I'm going to start heading back. One more view from the top. And in the meantime, guys, I challenge you, right, to start by increasing your awareness and hey, let's make this a week we start to get unstuck and start to make positive shifts in our life. Until the next time we walk together, everybody, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, right? And here's to an unstuckness in your life and the world around. Take care, everybody. Hey guys, one last thing. I'm super excited that this new podcast, Alive by Design, just went live. You see, I designed the show to bring you inspired thoughts and fascinating conversations with the world's most impactful people, to provide transformative principles and practices to help you wake up, move toward your meant to, and feel fully alive. And I'd love for you to help me spread the word now. Simply subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on this platform right now. So if I've ever given you value, please do me this personal favor and go subscribe now. And if you found today's episode helpful in any way, make sure you share this with at least one friend today. You have the power right now to change someone's day. So send them a text message with a link to alivebydesign.com or simply copy and paste the link right from this podcast platform. Who's one person you know right now that you want to see succeed, that you want to see grow, that you want to see feel more alive? Shoot them a text with your largest takeaway from today and be a light in their day. And if you were referred here by a friend, make sure you shoot them a text back and say thank you. I'd love to hear from you directly on what you got from today's podcast. So if you're up for it, drop by my Instagram @BlakeMallon and shoot me a DM. And as always, thank you for showing up. I'm grateful for you, and I hope our time together today in some small way helped you feel a little more alive. Until next time.